Part 87. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 866. Hit him. Anan bit her lip and didn't dare to speed up. Han Qian turned his head and said calmly. Parking. Anan parked the car on the side of the road. Han Qian got out of the car, opened the driver's door, and said softly. Go to the passenger seat. Anan accepted whatever Han Qian said as an order and went to the passenger seat obediently. After Han Qian got in the car, he lit a cigarette again, started the car and Han Qian spoke again. What's going on? Do you know him? Anan bit her lip and spoke softly. The thing between my parents and him, I met them when I first started to get involved in the capital circle. They are not my type, but I didn't know that my dad would. Do not talk. Han Qian spoke calmly, and Anan lowered her head further. Han Qian glanced at the girl next to him, frowned and scolded her. Keep your head up. As long as I'm alive, you can look at me with your head up and your chest out. The speed of the car suddenly increased, and it had already passed 100 seconds in just 10 seconds. Han Qian saw the two supercars in front of him. Han Qian opened the window and threw away half of the cigarette. He held the steering wheel with both hands and accelerated again. At this time, Anan suddenly cried. No, it's too dangerous. I can't face the people in Binhai. Han Qian said nothing. The two supercars in front seemed to have noticed the Cayenne's speed. The two cars spread out to keep pace with the Cayenne. The dude in the yellow supercar shouted at Han Qian. Brother, if you want to have both mother and daughter, you have to let me play with Anan for a few days first. Then I will introduce you to that woman. His green turtle father is willing to do anything for money, ha ha ha. Han Qian turned his head and narrowed his eyes and smiled. Are you worthy? As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian turned the steering wheel and hit the side of the yellow supercar. The car was going very fast, and there was a mechanical collision. The yellow supercar hit the middle isolation belt. The front of the car was destroyed, and the airbags deployed. At this time, another red supercar was already driving far away, drifting on the road, turning around and heading straight towards Han Qian. At this moment, a black Mercedes-Benz flashed past the Cayenne like a phantom, and it collided with the red Porsche supercar. Head-on collision. Su Hongchang opened the car door and got out of the car with blood on his face. He held the door and giggled at Han Qian. Han Qian took off his clothes and threw them to Anan, who was pale and choked. He got out of the car and shouted to Su Hongchang. Old Su, drag this person over here. Okay, my young master. A few minutes later, the two guys were lying in front of Han Qian. They had to admit that this expensive thing was quite safe. Both guys were not seriously injured. Han Qian pinched the guy who was talking nonsense, haha smiled. What did you just say? Are you telling me again? Broken Mouth gritted his teeth, glared at Han Qian, and growled. Do you know who my dad is? I don't care who you are, I'm telling you. You're dead. Han Qian laughed, grabbed his colorful hair and hit the other person on the chest. Then he dragged the guy towards the Cayenne and waved to Anan who was sitting in the car. Anan walked out of the car wearing a windbreaker. Han Qian he spoke. Slap him. Anan didn't know what was wrong, and Han Qian suddenly roared. I'm gonna let you humming whip him. Anan raised her hands feebly. When she saw the ferocious expression of the dude she had never been able to reach in the past, Anan was frightened. Han Qian grabbed the dude's head and smashed it on the cover. Su Hongchang on the side was not idle either, punching and kicking the dude. What capital? What a dude. My young master is God. Su Hongchang, go find their mobile phones and ask them to start calling now to find connections. If a few people with tonnage don't come today, they won't be able to leave. Han Qian is not afraid of things getting serious at all. He came to the capital just to bring a silver bracelet. Why is he afraid of this? The two dudes were not fools, so they called one after another and started moving reinforcements. Han Qian asked Anan to get back into the car. He and Su Hongchang leaned on the front of the Cayenne and blew smoke. At this time, there was a lot of traffic on the roadside, and there were also people curious about it. Pointing at the car accident. Why did you come to the capital suddenly? Su Hongchang chuckled. Master, I was following you when you were on the highway. I was worried that you would chase me home, so I followed you secretly. I can't help you much. I can buy a cigarette and pour tea, but Lao Su can still do it. Han Qian curled his lips and looked at the two guys lying on the ground crying and calling their mothers. Han Qian chuckled, took out his mobile phone and dialed Lao Gu's number. The call was quickly connected. Han Qian said calmly. I met Feng Lun on the night of the Chinese New Year. He killed a person and I was in the capital. Lao Gu was silent for a while and said in a low voice. Go and squat in the small room and wait for me to come over. Han Qian chuckled. I can't seem to leave. I seem to be in big trouble. Come and wipe my ass. Lao Gu gritted his teeth in anger and growled. Han Qian, who did you beat again? This is the capital, can you restrain yourself? Why are your hands so weak? Who did you beat? I don't know you. Well, why don't you come over? Send me the location. I don't know where this is. You call the traffic police. The place where the car accident happened is where I am. Han Qian, am I your father? I will take care of the aftermath for you. Father. Roll. Han Qian smiled and hung up the phone, and continued chatting with Su Hongchang. Not long after, several expensive cars came. The cars stopped on the road, and several middle-aged men and women hurriedly got out of the car. Running towards the two dudes, the traffic police also came at the same time. Han Qian didn't care about this at all. One of the middle-aged men with Chinese characters in a suit walked towards Han Qian, frowned and said coldly. How much hatred, to deal such a heavy blow? Han Qian said calmly. Why are you talking so much nonsense? If you can, touch me. If you can't, take your trash to the hospital and repair my two cars. The Chinese character sneered. Not from the capital? Young people, don't be too arrogant. Are you more awesome than Chen Zhan who got off his horse? The Chinese character face frowned, and when he saw Anan in the car, he frowned even more. He took out his mobile phone and made a call. He heard that the voice meant Anan's parents. Han Qian laughed and took out his mobile phone to make a call. I got Lu Shenggu's phone number. Xiao Wu, I had a car accident in the capital and hit someone. You and Luo Fu come over to deal with it? Were you the one who crashed into the car on the road just now? I'm going back now. Luo Fu is with me. Han Qian opened the car door and said softly. Old Su, please take Anan home first. You are not needed here. Okay, master. Su Hongchang got in the car, started the Cayenne and left the scene. At this time, Han Qian was the only one left. He looked at the fierce-looking guys in front of him and grinned. That's it? Say a few harsh words and brag. That's it? Traffic police uncle, you can watch the surveillance. The yellow supercar is provoking other cars, and the red supercar is driving in the wrong direction. You don't think I'm fully responsible, do you? The traffic policeman ignored Han Qian and said in a low voice. You hit me. Before he finished speaking, the blabbering mother rushed towards Han Qian. Baby, I beat my precious son like this, and I will never make it easy for you, nor will I make it easy for that little bitch Anan. Snapped. Han Qian waved his hand and slapped the woman on the face. The woman was stunned, covered her face and looked at Han Qian in disbelief. At this time, Han Qian was about to attack, and Han Qian was grinning with a cigarette in his mouth. At this moment, an Audi A6 with a black plate starting with the letter A stopped on the roadside. At the same time, a Lamborghini supercar stopped behind Han Qian. Han Qian sat in the supercar without turning his head. On the front cover, Lu Shengguo got out of the car, and Luo Fu, who was getting out of the passenger car, was holding a baseball bat in his hand, pointing at the Chinese character face and saying angrily, "Hey, aren't these Director Wu and Director Zhang? They are so upbeat in the middle of the night. Has your good-for-nothing son gotten into trouble again?" Lu Shengguo laughed. "When will that good-for-nothing of his family not get into trouble? He won't walk when he sees a woman. Brother Qianer, go about your business. I think someone has come to pick you up." Han Qian stretched and smiled. "Okay, I'll leave it to you. I'll go to your two families after I'm done. I guess I'll do it tomorrow." Before he finished speaking, Lao Gu had already gotten out of the car, slapped Han Qian's bald head, and then dragged the guy away by his collar. Before leaving, he told the traffic police to handle it according to the rules. It wouldn't matter if he was responsible for this evildoer. Show mercy, he took the person away first. The appearance of Lao Gu stunned everyone present, and Han Qian shouted as he walked, "Hey, hey, hey. I can walk on my own, don't drag me. Lao Gu, why don't you change your car? People even dislike me when I drive this car back to Binhai. What did you call me? Dad Gu? Shut up, explain to me what happened to Feng Lun, and get in the car." A group of people watched Han Qian being taken away, and some people wanted to stop him. The woman who had been slapped by Han Qian stood there with a stiff face, turned her head to Luo Fu, forced a smile, and said, "Younger from the ancient group? There may be some misunderstanding here." Luo Fu chuckled. "Don't misunderstand me. I don't know. As for what happened, you have to ask your precious son." Han Qian said, "Let you go." I laughed. He said he had a grudge. "Our Luo family will just play with you. The bank director is very awesome. Xiao Wu, are you still staying for a while? I thought it was such a big deal." Lu Shengguo frowned and replied, "I'll ask Xiao Ci to come over. Her family is good at handling this kind of thing. Let's wait until Xiao Ci comes over to talk about it." "Xiao Fu. What's the relationship between Han Qian and your sister?" Luo Fu curled his lips. "How do I know? I asked my sister, do you understand if my sister beats me and my bloodline is suppressed?" Lu Shengguo nodded seriously. The two of them simply didn't pay attention to these people. Not long after, a rented beetle came over. When they asked about it, they learned that it was Han Qian's business. Xiao Ci covered his face and said helplessly, "Brother Qianer is in the capital recently, you two are following me. Okay, let me handle this matter. If the guy named Gu takes action, they will be uglier than death." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 867. Familiar cabin, familiar smell. Han Qian sat on the chair again, but today only Lao Gu sat opposite Han Qian. Lao Gu threw Han Qian a bottle of water and frowned. "What happened?" "What? I asked you what happened tonight." Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment and whispered, "Did I say that they took the initiative to provoke my letter? It seems that they knew and said some ugly words, and then that's what you saw. Can you help me? I'll give you a reassurance, and then you can wipe my butt." Lao Gu looked at Han Qian and smiled. Han Qian didn't panic. He took out his mobile phone and dialed a number and said calmly, "Feng Lun is very cautious. He won't stay in one place for too long. He keeps appearing in Binhai and abroad just to confuse you. The phone number we contacted should not be in his hands. So say you can understand." After finishing his words, Han Qian hung up the phone and continued. Feng Lun went to Binhai on the New Year's Day. He asked me if I had seen Zhang Shengli. He also killed a person that day. The two of us broke up. I will not become his kind of person. He feels that I have no need to live. It's that simple. You think it's too complicated. Just as Lao Gu was about to speak, Han Qian's cell phone rang. He made a silent motion towards Lao Gu, coughed and answered the call. As soon as the call was connected, Feng Lun's voice came out. Han Qian, do you think there is still a need to talk between the two of us? I can make you successful, and I can also destroy you. Han Qian chuckled. You made me successful? You just wanted me to be Bin Hai's target, leaving a time bomb so that I could frighten the people of Bin Hai so that they could meet your financial needs. You opened fire on me gun. There really is nothing to talk about between the two of us. I just want to tell you that you can contact me anytime you want to see me, and you don't have to arrest the people around me to threaten me. You want to kill me, and I want to kill you too. Kill me? Han Qian, you have never killed a person so far. You can't even kill a bastard like Gu Dapao. You say you want to kill me? Han Qian, I really feel sad for you. You have a very smart mind. Obviously we can join forces. You stay in Bin Hai, I am outside. We lift the darkness at the Yamen door, watching those high-ranking people stumble into jail or plead before death. It is simply a kind of enjoyment. Did Niu Qiudong commit suicide? Don't you feel happy in your heart? A common man has brought down the city's top leaders. Han Qian took a deep breath and said calmly. You are not the judge of this world. You are not qualified to judge other people's right and wrong, life and death. Niu Qiudong did indeed do some extreme things, but I don't know if you saw it. When Niu Qiudong was buried, Bin Hai City thousands of people came to see you off, but when you die, no one will know, and they will be indifferent to your life or death. No matter how wrong Niu Qiudong is, he has not wronged the Bin Hai citizens, and what have you done? Han Qian, are you accusing me? Don't forget, Niu Qiudong wanted to kill you, Go Dapao, and Zhang Shengli were all Niu Qiudong's people. You forced Niu Qiudong to death, and now you are pretending to be the Virgin? White Lotus. You are a bitch who sets up a memorial arch. Whether I build an archway or be a bitch, what does this have to do with you? You were wrong from the beginning. Can you guarantee that the person who takes office after Niu Qiudong steps down will be better than Niu Qiudong? You'd better turn yourself in, so you can live. I will turn myself in after I destroy you. What are you going to do with Zhang Shengli? As soon as the words came out, the call was hung up. Han Qian put down the phone and raised his head to look at Lao Gu and said calmly. Do you still doubt me now? Feng Lun and I have never had the kind of relationship you imagined. I said it before, but you still don't believe it. As long as you pay attention to the details, you will find that Feng Lun is just using me as a chess piece. Of course I'm also using him to build momentum for me, it's that simple. Lao Gu sighed and said calmly. Actually, we all know in our hearts that the relationship between you and Feng Lun is very simple. You said we also know it, but because of your frequent contact, we can only look for a breakthrough in you. Sometimes we also want to deliberately push you into a hurry. It will make you hate Feng Lun, and this will prevent you from actually getting together with him, Han Qian. No, don't call me so earnestly. I can only say that Feng Lun must be abroad now, but your location phone number is definitely inaccurate. Feng Lun is not short of money. He can find many people to help him answer the phone, because every day I called him every time, and he called me back. He is very cautious, and it is difficult to catch him. So you want to use you as bait? I'm not a bait, I'm a hunter. Feng Lun has attacked the people around me again and again. It's impossible for me to keep him. Everyone who knows me knows that I value the safety of those around me more than my own life, and although this person is greedy for money, I don't like money. Wealth spreading boy. Haha, When are you going to meet Feng Lun? I don't know, but I can estimate the approximate time. After I eliminate Lin Meng and others, Feng Lun's only target will be me. If my guess is correct, he is looking for Zhang Shengli just to move to the Lin family. Niu Qiudong, as the largest official, committed suicide, and Lin Meng, as the largest businessman in Binhai, it is impossible for Feng Lun not to do something to him, and Lin Meng and I have grudges, business grudges. Lao Gu stood up and sighed, pointed at the door to Han Qian and said calmly, "Go out for a late-night snack with me." Han Qian frowned. "Can I not go? Then you deal with the aftermath yourself." Han Qian followed Lao Gu out of the house in a hurry. When he took the initiative to drive, he was pushed away by Lao Gu and asked, "Do you know the road?" Han Qian was shocked and followed Lao Gu to find a small shop. The shop owner seemed to be very familiar with Lao Gu. Without ordering, he brought out 2 bowls of noodles, a drawer of steamed buns and a plate of pork head meat. After a while, Lao Gu didn't say anything. He lowered his head to eat noodles, and Han Qian was not polite. The two of them quickly consumed the food. At this time, the store brought a small hot pot and 2 bottles of wine. Han Qian frowned. "How can you drive when you've had too much to drink?" Lao Gu glanced at Han Qian and said softly, "Didn't you notice that I look very similar to the store owner? He is my brother, my brother. You can leave by yourself later." As he spoke, he threw the car keys to Han Qian, which showed that Han Qian couldn't drink anymore. Lao Gu drank beer 1 glass at a time and spoke again. "Actually, we in the capital shouldn't worry about Feng Lun's affairs, but you are getting more and more out of the circle. You have changed from a son-in-law who married into a married woman to a little bully in the mouth of Binhai people. You first used a trick to take away Li. The shares in Dahai's hands were taken away from the land in Dongcheng, Wei Tiancheng was taken away, Yezai Pavilion was taken over, Han Qian. This is either something that a rural boy who has not finished college can do, or who has a family background after finishing college. How many of you can do it? We have to pay attention to you." Han Qian said with a smile. "I'm fine, I just did some things that young people should do." Lao Gu raised his head and glanced at Han Qian, then lowered his head and continued eating hot pot, and continued. "Young man? You were not the only young man in the hotel on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. What happened? You were the only one who dared to fight the gangsters. Among the gangsters, Zhang Gang surrendered because of you, and Zhang Song was only caught. Yes, you caught the rest of them. Are you still afraid? Because warmth is dangerous." "Warmth? A naive and kind-hearted girl, Han Qian, haven't you ever been afraid?" Han Qian smiled bitterly. "Afraid? I'm afraid all the time. I'm not a god, I'm just an ordinary person, but what's the use of being afraid? As long as I take a step back, someone around me will be injured or even killed. I'm afraid, but I don't be afraid. Dad Gu, do you think I'm qualified as a man?" Lao Gu raised his head and smiled at Han Qian. "If you could be more dedicated, maybe you would be a competent man. Actually, I am a man who is devoted to love. I am 100% good to every girl around me, but I am only devoted to a group of women. Is this what you said is human language? You and Aunt Hui just divorced. Are you living together illegally?" Lao Gu frowned and looked at Han Qian. Han Qian quickly retreated and surrendered. Seeing that Lao Gu had no intention of pursuing the matter, Han Qian came closer and spoke again. "What should I do tonight?" Han Qian. "Aren't you quite smart?" Han Qian glanced at Lao Gu helplessly, and then said. "Is your child as old as mine?" Lao Gu suddenly froze, put down his chopsticks and picked up the wine glass, his eyes a little sad. "If he were still alive, he would be 2 years younger than you. Bye-bye, Dad." Han Qian stood up and left. Lao Gu sighed. He didn't like Han Qian's too aggressive personality. He preferred obedient children. Han Qian was too capable of getting into trouble, and his identity was not suitable to deal with Han Qian's aftermath. Putting down the chopsticks in his hands, he raised his head and sighed. It seemed that it was impossible to catch Feng Lun here with Han Qian, and he knew that there had been a break between Han Qian and Feng Lun. As long as Han Qian caught Feng Lun, Han Qian would be able to clear all suspicions. After going out, Han Qian called Anan after getting in the car and asked her where she was. After learning that Anan was at home, Han Qian drove an ancient car and left the shop. Not long after he left, Zhou Hui appeared in the shop. Looking at Lao Gu drinking one glass after another, Zhou Hui sighed and stepped forward to take the glass. Lao Gu raised his head and looked at Zhou Hui, squinting his eyes and whispered softly, "Let's get married again and have a baby." Zhou Hui tilted her head and looked at Lao Gu and said doubtfully, "Have you forgotten? If we remarry, one of us will be expelled. You can resign, you are my assistant anyway." Gu Yuzhuo. Brother. Look what your brother said. I will resign and go home. Daegu looked at his younger brother and sister-in-law, frowned and whispered, "He can't give birth to a child even if he quits his job and goes home." Zhou Hui was stunned for a moment, then glared at Lao Gu. On the other side, Han Qian took off his shoes and threw the car keys to Anan. He frowned and asked where Su Hongchang had gone. Anan squatted next to Han Qian and changed his shoes for him. He whispered that he didn't know and left without anyone going upstairs. Then Anan asked Han Qian if he was hungry. Han Qian touched his belly. He and Lao Gu just didn't eat enough. Seeing this, Anan got up and went to the kitchen to prepare. Han Qian didn't have to do anything. Rice was brought to him, 4 dishes and 1 soup. As soon as Han Qian picked up the bowl, the doorbell rang. Han Qian frowned slightly. Anan ran to open the door, and then heard Anan's cold voice. "What are you doing here?" "Dad, I came here to see you. I heard that you had a car accident tonight. Are you injured? It's not nice for a girl to have scars on her body." These words sounded uncomfortable to Han Qian's ears, so he put down his chopsticks and said softly, "Anan, who is here?" Anan returned to the kitchen with a bad look on her face. Behind her was a man, about 50, in a suit and leather shoes. He had few hairs on his head, which was somewhat similar to Han Qian's bald head. Han Qian did not get up, but was holding a bowl and eating rice. Dadan glanced at the food on the table and smiled. "Girl, go give me that bowl." Anan didn't speak. Han Qian said coldly, "You can take it yourself if you want to eat." "Anan, you go back to the bedroom and wait for me." Anan left obediently, and Han Qian turned around to look at An's father and smiled. "What uncle said may not be right. Anan is my woman, and I have the final say whether she has scars on her body. I'll measure the value." "What? Do you still want one daughter to marry 2 husbands?" Dadan looked at Han Qian coldly and sneered. "You? Did I say that I married my daughter to you?" Han Qian stood up slowly and took a deep breath. "You can even give your wife away for fun. Do you think that a bastard like you has any say? Huh? Do you think that if you come over tonight, I will compliment you? Treat you like an elder? I tell you, thief son, and even my mistress I can't even count my son, but I am very possessive. If you think I'm not from the capital, you think there's nothing you can do about me? Can't you see the car parked downstairs?" Sudden. Dadan's expression changed. He rubbed his hands and smiled at Han Qian. "Master Han, look at you, why are you so anxious just because you were joking? I have stopped cooperating with the Wu family. Since there is a stalemate, there is no need to continue to contact us." Han Qian chuckled. At this time, Dadan approached Han Qian and whispered, "I don't care if Anan is your mistress. I heard that young Master Han is close to the Lu family and the Luo family. I wonder if young Master Han can help connect the dots." Han Qian frowned. Anan and his family are pretty good, right? Dadan scratched his head and laughed. She and I are not very close. We haven't spoken to each other for 5 or 6 years. If something hadn't happened tonight, she might not have even opened the door for me. You're giving away hatred to your daughter, right? Master Han Mingjian. But now that I've gotten an, why should I help you? Dadan didn't panic at all, he leaned closer to Han Qian and smiled lewdly. Does Mr. Han like mother-daughter flowers? Yo-ho. Han Qian smiled, looked at Dadan with a lewd smile on his face, and murmured. Mother-daughter flowers, you really dare to think about it? As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian picked up the soup bowl and poured it on the beast's face. The next second, the soup bowl shattered on his head. Han Qian walked to the bathroom, took a mop and walked out. He looked up and down, and smashed the mop on the beast's face. On its head. Seeing the blood staining the mop, Han Qian said coldly. Is this the Wu family's rescue method? It's too childish, too vulgar. Why do you look more and more like a bastard? After saying that, Han Qian dialed Su Hongchang's number. Come up and clean up the trash. Okay, master. In the bedroom, Anan cried for a long time. When she was tired of crying and heard that it was quiet outside, she opened the door and walked out of the bedroom. The kitchen was quiet, the living room was clean, the whole house was clean, and she was the only one. Han Qian left. Things can't just let it go. Are you coming here to discuss Anan without apologizing? 2 updates. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 868. Han Qian and Su Hongchang were leaning in front of the car and smoking. They looked at An's father, who was staggering towards Wu's house with blood on his face. Han Qian tightened his tight clothes with a sarcastic look on his face, while Su Hongchang smiled flatteringly on the side. Young master, you have caused such a big commotion since you came to the capital. It's so terrible. Little mistress, this. Han Qian curled his lips and said calmly. Anan? Young mistress? She doesn't count. I don't even have the idea of sleeping with her. You don't have to respect her too much. Among the women around me, you just have to respect a few of them a little bit. Su Hongchang chuckled. Master, I feel that Principal Tong truly loves you. Nursery rhyme. The thoughts in this monster's head are not normal. If I get closer, she will hit me with a cannonball. I can't get too far away. Let's just make do with it. I'm going to see Lushenga tomorrow. Please prepare some gifts. Master, please forgive me for talking too much. Sooner or later there will be a fight between you and Lushenga. Why not take advantage of his inconvenience? Han Qian flicked the cigarette butt and laughed. Each person is treated in his own way. Lushenga played dirty tricks with me once, and I gave him back once. When I left Binhai, Lushenga didn't make any move, which made me feel relieved. He is a eunuch, but he felt uncomfortable in his heart. Generally men want men, and using conspiracy to deal with such people is a bit insulting to us. In fact, I have always thought that the solution between men is fists, but unfortunately not everyone is worthy of it. Su Hongchang gave Han Qian a thumbs up, and Han Qian raised his leg and kicked the guy's calf, laughing and cursing. Stop flattering. During the conversation, several people appeared in his sight. Han Qian saw the talkative parents. When Han Qian approached and was about to speak, the woman named Zhang knelt down in front of Han Qian with a thud. Han Qian sneered. It's the new year, so I can't give you a red envelope anymore. Young Master Han. You blame me for being too reckless and ignorant. Please give our family a chance. Looking down at the woman kneeling in front of her, she saw that a few hours ago she was furiously planning to beat Han Qian and insult Anan, but now she was kneeling in front of Han Qian to beg for mercy. She underestimated Han Qian's strength. With his family behind him, Gu personally came to pick him up. These are forces that their family cannot resist. Han Qian sneered. Now that you know, you regret it? What a pity, what I said doesn't count. Your son hit me with his car, and then asked an old bastard named An to disgust me. Your family is quite good at playing. Wait for the inspection tomorrow and take a look at your son. Did you, the bank director, give you the money to buy the car? After saying that, Han Qian turned around and went back to the car. Su Hongchang smiled, turned around, got in the car, and drove away. The woman was left kneeling on the ground and wailing. Su Hongchang drove to the bar. The nightlife in Beijing was much richer than that in Binhai. However, the car was so eye-catching that the waiters at the door did not dare to come to greet them. Han Qian and Su Hongchang walked into the bar and glanced at each other. Then he saw the guy standing on the DJ stage holding two beauties and twisting their butts. Han Qian raised his hand and waved at Luo Fu, but the guy didn't see it. Just as he found a place to sit down, Xiao Ci came over with a few girls, narrowed his eyes at Han Qian and smiled. Brother Qianer, how many days do you plan to stay in the capital this time? While talking, Han Qian was given a glass of wine, and Han Qian chuckled. I can't tell you how many days there will be conflicts between you and Xiao Wu. It's almost over. You two are already grown up. Where is Xiao Wu? Brother Qianer. I'm only 25, I'm not old. Let me introduce you to a few sisters. They are all gentle girls from Xiajiabiu. They played with Xiao Ci in the bar until about 4 o'clock. Han Qian staggered out of the bar and checked into the hotel under Xiao Ci's arrangement. Han Qian fell asleep at the end. He didn't know how long he slept. His phone vibrated. Qian took the phone irritably. Which one? Han Qian, Wu En is humming crying at my door. Just let her die. After saying that, Han Qian hung up the phone. Anan looked at the hung up phone and took a deep breath. She put on makeup and clothes and opened the door and looked at Director Zhang standing at the door. This woman had lost her usual domineering look and her face was filled with anger. She looked at Anan with a smile, and Anan walked past her expressionlessly. The elevator door opened, and Anan saw her father with a bandage on his head. She frowned, turned around and walked into another elevator. As a result, she saw her mother in front of the unit door on the first floor. Anan took a deep breath, turned around and glared at him. The father who came downstairs said coldly. It's over now. You don't have to take care of my affairs, and I don't want to take care of your dirty things. I had nothing to do with you as early as when you were planning to give me away as an item. Anan pushed her mother away, ran all the way, started the car and left the community. They say there are only cruel children and not cruel parents, but cruel people in this world have no distinction of status. It was already 10 o'clock when Han Qian crawled out of bed. He walked into the bathroom with sleepy eyes and turned on the shower. Then there was a sound. The water was so cold. Han Qian felt that he was getting more and more fragile while taking a shower. Then the guy turned off the hot water. It is not necessarily wrong to say that he is a bit crazy. At 11 o'clock at noon, Han Qian arrived at the door of a villa in Beijing. Compared with Cai Qinghu's manor, the villa seemed very ordinary. Chu Leti went out to greet him. When he walked into the villa, Han Qian saw someone sitting on the sofa on the first floor. Sister Yan Ran's magazine, Han Qian said disdainfully. Do you understand it? Do you know Chinese characters? Sister Yan Ran turned her head and cast a flirtatious look at Han Qian, holding her orchid finger and smiling sweetly. Brother Xiao Han is here? Do you want to teach me? Do you believe I killed you with one shot? Now don't talk to me. Where is Lushenga? Sister Yan Ran's face was full of resentment. At this time, Lushenga appeared in a wheelchair and looked at Han Qian with a frown. Do you know what a guest is? Han Qian chuckled. Why are you and I so clearly separated? Yates can walk on his own, but you are still in a wheelchair? I came over to see Auntie, to see Xiao Wu, and to see if you are still alive. Lushenga waved to Kuladai, then stood up and walked towards Han Qian, smiling. I heard that you made some noise when you came to the capital last night. Han Qian, don't you feel uncomfortable if something happens? Is Lao Gu going to deal with the aftermath for you? Han Qian stepped forward and slapped Sister Yan Ran on the black head. Sister Yan Ran's eyes were filled with resentment, and Han Qian leaned back on the sofa and smiled. It's not the aftermath. My car was hit. I've been driving an old car for the past 2 days. I'm too lazy to tell you. I'm wishing my aunt a new year. It has nothing to do with you. I have a good relationship with Xiao Wu. Lushenga laughed, ignored Han Qian, turned around and walked back to the wheelchair. Sister Gao Yan Ran pushed him to the yard to have a look. When he walked out of the yard, Han Qian followed him, took out a cigarette and handed it to Lushenga. Looking at the sky in the distance, Lushenga said calmly. Han Qian, hurry up. Han Qian chuckled. I will. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 869. Lushenga's mother was a very gentle woman, she spoke softly, and was very enthusiastic towards Han Qian. She regarded Han Qian as Lushenga's friend, but Han Qian did not expose it and said it to Aunt Lu with a smile. Lots of words and left at noon. Instead of going to Luo's house, he asked Luo Shen to come out for a meeting. I haven't seen Luo Shen for a long time. Han Qian stood on the roadside and waved his arms to Luo Shen. The two walked side by side on the road. Luo Shen had his hands behind his back and was jumping up and down. Han Qian put one hand in his pocket and smoked a cigarette. There was some distance between the people. Passing by a candied horse seller, Luo Shen bought a bunch of strawberries and handed the candied horse to Han Qian, who laughed. I don't like sweet things very much. Luo Shen didn't force him, he ate the candied horse and said softly. I like to eat sweets, but unfortunately my road is always bitter, Han Qian. If only I had met you earlier. Han Qian smiled and shook his head. If you meet me too early, you will only be deceived. You will meet whomever you want at any time. It's good now. When I come to the capital, I can go shopping with you and take a walk. There is no pressure in my heart. Luo Shen hummed, and after being silent for a while, he spoke again. Han Qian, would you take the initiative to like someone? Han Qian thought for a while, then shook his head, threw away the cigarette butt in his hand, and said softly. Probably not, I'm not a proactive person. Luo Shen stepped forward, picked up the cigarette butts on the ground and threw them into the trash can, smiling. Littering is not good. Last night you had a conflict with someone because of an. Do you like this woman very much? She has a very strong purpose. I don't like it. I just feel that by taking care of her, the troubles around her have been solved. Isn't that what men are used to do to solve troubles? Luo Shen tilted his head and thought for a while, took a bite of the candied horse and smiled innocently. After that, the two of them did not speak, and just walked quietly on the street. Watching Luo Shen walk into the gate of the community, Han Qian stretched out his hand and waved. Wave your arms and shout loudly. I'll treat you to noodles next time we meet. Luo Shen turned around and shouted to Han Qian in a sweet voice. I'll treat you to hot pot. Han Qian smiled, and when he turned around, Su Hongchang was already driving and waiting on the side of the road. Han Qian opened the door and got in the car, telling Su Hongchang to deliver the car and then return to Binhai. I met Lao Gu again, but this time it was at the gate of their community. Lao Gu asked Han Qian if he would take action next time he met Feng Lun, and Han Qian answered softly. Yes. Don't send people to follow me. I killed Feng Lun and you go and clean it up. If Feng Lun kills me, just buy me a better cemetery and support my parents. Not afraid? Lao Gu asked again, and Han Qian chuckled. I'm afraid that my mother will be sad, but I'm not afraid of Feng Lun. Let's go. I'm going back to Binhai to deal with Lin Mend. If I have time, I'll come see you again. I drove the Cayenne with a deformed front face on the highway. As for the Mercedes-Benz Anan, someone would send it to Binhai. From coming to the capital to leaving, Han Qian only spent 2 hours with Anan. He made a clear distinction between feelings and transactions. There was only a transaction with Anan, and it was a transaction that did not make him excited. On the way back to Binhai, Han Qian called Sun Zhenmin and told him that he was fine. He explained it clearly to Lao Gu, and then sent a text message to Cheng Jin, telling him not to worry too much. Han Qian did not dare to stay in the capital for too long. If Lin Zongheng did something dirty, it would be more than worth the gain. At the intersection, Han Qian saw the Audi R8 supercar that had been changed to pink. The Cayenne parked next to the Audi. The R8's window fell down. Lady Cai's pretty face came into Han Qian's sight. Cai Qinghu looked at the somewhat embarrassed Cayenne. He smiled bitterly. Shall I buy you an armored vehicle next time? After getting off the car and sitting in the passenger seat of Cai Qinghu, Su Hongchang started the Cayenne and left. He was going to repair the car. Cai Qinghu started the car and returned to the city. On the way, he asked Han Qian if the matter in the capital had been resolved. Han Qian shook his head. It's not a solution, it's just a reassurance for Lao Gu, don't stare at me too hard. But he didn't dare to tell Cai Qinghu about meeting Feng Lun in the future. Cai Qinghu didn't ask any questions, and drove the car with his head shaking. He seemed to be happy because Han Qian had solved the trouble. Cai Qinghu took Han Qian to the crew. Today, the crew officially started planning its time to film a big drama between Wu Qingxi and Weiju. As an investor, Cai Qinghu is like a princess here. Han Qian was half lying on a sun lounger. Cai Qinghu glanced at her stool and then at Han Qian. After struggling for a while, she lay in Han Qian's arms. Mister, I'm thirsty. Han Qian handed the water to Cai Qinghu, who said he couldn't unscrew it. Han Qian laughed. Do you want me to feed you mouth to mouth? Opening the water bottle and handing it to Cai Qinghu, Wu Qingxi and Weiju came over at this time. Weiju was wearing a sportswear, which was Han Qian's outfit that night. Looking at Wu Qingxi's policewoman outfit, Han Qian frowned. Just act as you are, why do you need to transform yourself? The police didn't do anything that day? Just act as your hostage honestly, and then Weiju will save you, a hero saves a beauty. That's all. Wu Qingxi glared at Han Qian and said angrily. You know nothing. We can't let you men do all the honorable things, and we women are not vegetarians. Han Qian curled his lips and said disdainfully. I was the only one who took action that night. I didn't see you do anything. Qinghu, take care of him. Cai Qinghu turned around and covered Han Qian's mouth and smiled at Wu Qingxi. At this time, Han Qian saw a familiar figure. Han Qian was slightly surprised by the appearance of this guy. He opened Cai Qinghu's hand and shouted. Toad. The toad that was supposed to appear in the prison actually appeared here? Han Qian was surprised. Toad turned his head when he heard Han Qian's voice, and then said a few words to the two guards around him, and he was brought over. Han Qian pushed Cai Qinghu away and stood up, looked at the toad up and down, and then asked the guard beside him. Explain. The guard whispered. That's what the warden, Mayor Chang, and director Li mean. While this drama is fighting criminals, it should also be publicized. Even if they master some secrets, the Yamanmen will not be merciful to them. Zhang Gang will become the publicity for this matter. If you perform well, your sentence can be reduced, and he also knows the criminal's internal plan relatively well. Zhang Gang plays his true character. Only you and him know what happened back then. Han Qian nodded, turned around and looked at Wei Ju suspiciously. Can you beat a toad? Wei Ju smiled and said he had never tried it. Han Qian smiled and told the guard to remove Zhang Gang's handcuffs and shackles. If there was a problem, he would be responsible. If the toad ran away, he would squat in the prison. The guard was a little embarrassed. Han Qian faced the toad. Smiled. Tomorrow I will have someone pick up your mother and your daughter-in-law in the morning to watch you filming. I may not have much time for you to talk, but there is still time to have a meal together. Behave well and try to come out as soon as possible to untie them. Try it with Wei Ju. Wei Ju was eager to try, but Toad was a little hesitant. The handcuffs were opened, and Toad sat on the ground with a pop, whispering that this would prevent him from running away. Han Qian smiled helplessly, threw a cigarette to Toad, and cursed with a smile. What the hell are you afraid of? Your wife and children are all here, Toad. I am the only one among you who trusts you. Get up, come over and take a quick photo of whoever is inside, and then post it online. Well, the title is It was written as Wei Ju, in pursuit of reality, had a physical rehearsal with the criminals on the set. The director came over with someone and asked Han Qian with a smile if he wanted to give some guidance. Wu Qingxi said quickly. Don't. Han Qian and Zhang Gang looked like blood gourds that night. If you saw them with your own eyes that night, you would definitely be shocked. Everyone dispersed, leaving an open space for Zhang Gang and Wei Ju. Only Han Qian stood between them. As Han Qian started, they both rushed towards each other, and Toad punched Wei Ju in the face. On his face, he had lost 90% of his strength, and Wei Ju's fist was limp and weak. Han Qian frowned when he saw this, stepped forward and put his foot on Wei Ju's stomach, and punched Toad in the face with his hand. Frowned. You can hold back your strength while filming, but now if you really fight, Wei Ju can handle it. Toad took a deep breath. Wei Ju stood up holding his stomach, put his foot on Han Qian's lower back, and said angrily. We are not allowed to test each other, get out of here. Then the two people fought together. There was no wrestling or grappling. You punched and kicked me. There were no fancy moves. Wei Ju put his kick in Toad's chest. Toad fell to the ground. Wei Ju stepped forward to make up for it. Suddenly, Toad stretched out its leg and hooked Wei Ju's leg. With a muffled sound, Wei Ju fell to the ground. Toad got up and kicked Wei Ju in the stomach. The corners of Han Qian's eyes twitched as he watched. When the director shouted to stop, Wei Ju said angrily. Shut up. Then he got up and exchanged fists with Toad, maybe more than one. Both of their faces were stained. Toad's side was scratched, and there was blood at the corner of Wei Ju's mouth. When the two of them gasped for breath, Han Qian he clapped his hands. Wonderful! Wonderful! Where are the medical staff? Come over and clean them up. When the medical staff came over, Toad took the initiative to step forward and put on the handcuffs. This move made the medical staff feel warm. He was worried that they would be afraid of him. Wei Ju put an ice pack on his face and stepped forward to say he punched Toad on the shoulder and said with a smile. Tell me. How different it is from that night. Toad smiled shyly. Same, same. Wei Ju turned around and looked at Han Qian, who shrugged and smiled. Well, that night we exchanged headbutts. It was a fair duel. I guess you two might have fought a little harder than you did now during the filming. Do you regret it? Wei Ju pouted. Regret? What regrets? Since you have entered the acting industry, you have to persevere despite the injuries and pain. It's just a beating. The more you earn, the more you have to pay. I'm not one of those little girls. Hey. The actor industry is not easy for men to get along with. You film a youth idol drama. No. I prefer this kind of fisting feeling. Tomorrow I will eat and live with the toad. I don't believe it can't be realistic. Weiju's success was no accident. He has a consciousness as an actor. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 870. The director, screenwriter, Han Chien, Weiju, Toad, and other gentlemen sat together carrying lunch boxes and eating dinner. Wu Qingxi, Cai Qinghu, Guyan and other women were also having dinner. Cai Qinghu asked in a low voice. Qingxi, was my husband-in-law miserable that night? I just heard that. I didn't see the scene. Wu Qingxi said vaguely while holding a chicken drumstick. It's not very tragic, it's very, very tragic. You definitely can't see it. Feng Lun's camera collapsed when he shot him. You didn't know it at the time. Han Qian appeared on the second floor, leaning on the railing and overlooking us. At that time, that feeling, it's like a god descending to earth. He is red. He has a pistol in his hand, and there are toads under his feet. Cai Qinghu nodded Wu Qingxi's head, and then whispered. I have never seen Han Qian fight. It seems that only Yan Qingqing has seen it once. At this time, Gu Yan whispered. Master Han, why don't you find some bodyguards? These words were like a match igniting the darkness. Cai Qinghu glanced at Han Qian suspiciously, and then a cold voice came from beside Cai Qinghu. Bodyguard? When in trouble, he will let the bodyguard go first. Others don't know Han Qian's character, and you don't know Cai Huaping either. Cai Qinghu turned her head and looked at Yan Qingqing, who was wearing a long black dress. She frowned and spoke. Why are you here? After the words fell, another voice came from the other side. Both of us are worried that you will starve Han Qian to death. Wen Nuan appeared on the other side. Cai Qinghu sighed feebly and whispered about 2 light bulbs. Wen Nuan laughed. Han Qian discovered what was going on here, stood up and walked over, patted Wen's head, and Wen turned around and grabbed touching Han Qian's ear. Han Qian said quickly. There are many people, there are many people. Give me some face. Wen Nuan wrinkled her little nose and snorted coldly. Han Qian was taken away and sat in the passenger seat of Yan Qingqing. Han Qian weakly asked what kind of monster he was going to do again. Yan Qingqing slapped Han Qian's arm twice and got beaten. Han Qian is honest and honest. Yan Qingqing sent Han Qian to Yang Ian's house, and then told Han Qian that Yang Jia was out on a date, and they wanted to go shopping with Yang Lan, so there is no need to go on. Han Qian knows what his mission is. The 4 women went shopping. Han Qian coaxed Xiao Baibei on the sofa. As a result, Xiao Baibei was very energetic and Han Qian fell asleep. The next morning, Han Qian looked at Xiao Baibei, who was standing in front of him with his skull bag on his back. He scratched his head with confused eyes, and then looked at the 2 Yang sisters standing not far away. Han Qian said awkwardly. He's asleep. Xiao Yangjia covered her mouth and looked at Han Qian with a smile. Brother Qianer, you're really good at sleeping until dawn. When will you teach me? I've been suffering from insomnia for a long time. If you go to the construction site and swing a sledgehammer for a day, you will definitely not lose sleep. Sister Yang, please wait for me. I will wash my face and go to the company with you. Han Qian got up and went to the bathroom. After arriving at the company, Han Qian felt that his back was sore from sleeping that night. Han Qian said hello to everyone. Han Qian was used to this work style of 3 days of fishing and 2 days of surfing the internet. Han Qian found out after reading the plan for the Yamenkao scenic spot. I became increasingly sleepy and stopped reading. At 10 o'clock, in the Glory Gym, Han Qian and Gao Xing'ai were playing badminton. They were the only two people in the whole gym. Han Qian waved his racket and said loudly, "How's it going over there in the ancient building?" Gao Xingzi threw the badminton back and replied, "Looking for reasons to delay, it seems that there is a problem with funds. Gilu is forcing them to take money from the company's internal account, 1.5 billion, haha. How can it be so easy to get it?" Han Qian laughed. "The company takes money. Someone is already watching them over there. Now they can't get a penny out of the company. Let's do some research. Let's buy some Changxiang shares for fun. If we are idle, we will be idle. If I don't discuss them, I feel that we are too kind and told Gulu that if we don't pay back the money, we will use the shares to pay off the debt." Gao Xing'ai bared his teeth and smiled. "That's a good relationship. The shares bought for 150 can pay off the debt at 90, you're really good at it. How did you calculate that they would have no money to buy Wen Nuan's shares?" "Because my father-in-law is familiar with him. Think about it, if he were rich, would he ask Feng Lun to do those things? He will never get power in his life. He has thoughts and actions on women as he gets older, so he will be left with nothing. Just bet money, which rich person takes risks to make money? You will know if you analyze more. Come on, play ball." Has Sun Ye recently emptied his money? The two of them were sweating in the gym, while the Lin family was in an economic crisis. Han Qian's plan penetrated little by little. When Niu Qiudong was still alive, the Lin family took money, thinking that Niu Qiudong was backing him and acting as a landlord group. They are not afraid of having a relationship, but they never thought that Niu Qiudong would die. Not only that, Lin Zongheng was constrained by the sudden appearance of Li Dehai. Even if he was the absolute controlling shareholder, some decisions he made must let shareholders know whether Li Dehai was Han Qian's person and had been in contact with Han Qian for so long. Lin Zongheng was really worried. This Han Qian's plan will always appear invisibly, he is like a poisonous snake. At this time, Lin Zongheng held his mobile phone in his hand. After struggling for a long time, he dialed Luoshen's number. After more than 10 seconds, the call was connected. "Hello." Luoshen's voice was very clear. Lin Zongheng hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Little God, have you recently?" Beep. Before he finished speaking, the call was hung up. Lin Zongheng looked ugly. When he called again, he was immediately hung up. Lin Zongheng did not believe in evil. When he called for the third time, the call was blocked. Lin Zongheng was so angry that he put his hands on the phone. Tremble. He was not angry that Luo Shen would hang up on him. What he was angry about was that Han Qian and Lu Shenga had no credibility. They agreed to target the Luo family together, but one suddenly withdrew and the other ruined his plan. Lin Zongheng became more and more irritated. He had no choice but to dial someone's phone number. This time the call was not connected. After a while, the call came back. Lin Zongheng answered the phone and growled. "Zhang Shengli, where are you? I asked you to go back to Binhai to help me now." "Master Lin, don't be anxious. Zhang Shengli seems to be unable to go back now. If Master Lin misses me, I can go back. After all, Master Lin is quite comfortable to sit on as a chair." "Is Lin Zongheng a chair?" When he heard this voice, Lin Zongheng was still curious, but after telling him about it, Lin Zongheng knew who the other party was and gritted his teeth and roared. "Feng Lun! What did you do to Zhang Shengli, a dishonest guy like you?" Feng Lun chuckled. "We're all men, what else can I do to him? This will brainwash him. Mr. Lin, you'd better stop looking for Zhang Shengli. Han Qian has been attacking the Lin family for a long time. Don't you realize it at all?" Your heart is how big? Of course, if you, Mr. Lin, can kill Han Qian, I can give you everything I give to Han Qian. After all, I need someone to be my spokesperson in Binhai. As for Zhang Shengli, don't even think about this person. The phone was hung up. Lin Zongheng was feeling bad. Luoshan had no hope of getting the money. Zhang Shengli was caught by Feng Lun. Han Qian had already taken action. What about Yang Jianfeng? Lin Zongheng curled his lips and murmured disdainfully. You're just a mud-legged dog. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 871. Brother Zongheng, who do you think is the biggest local snake in this coastal area? Tu Xiao doesn't count, and you don't count, Brother Zongheng, so that leaves me, Han Qian, right? Although I don't really like this nickname, it's better than Mad Dog. It sounds better. Han Qian looked at Lin Zongheng with a smile on his face. At this time, Gulu stood up, walked to Han Qian and bowed to salute. Boss. Han Qian nodded lightly. Lin Zongheng's face turned the color of pig liver. He gritted his back molars, stared at Han Qian with scarlet eyes, and roared angrily. Han Qian? What kind of grandson are you pretending to be? You have 300 million? Are you humming afraid that the wind will flash your tongue? 300 million? Han Qian licked his ears and frowned. What are you calling for? I don't have 300 million, but my wife is rich, my brother Lu Guangming is rich, and son Minjiao, the largest swimwear factory in Bin County, got some benefits from the Yamen Gate and took the initiative to send me 7,000. Wang, what do you think I should do? I feel embarrassed if I don't want the money. Do you think it's irritating? Hey, I dug such a big hole for you to jump out of, but I didn't expect that it was Tang Wei who helped me a lot. Lin Zongheng looked at Han Qian coldly. He kept telling himself not to be nervous, not to get in his way, not to get excited, but how could he not be angry? Lin Zongheng took a deep breath to adjust his mentality, and then sneered. Then what? Han Qian, what can you do? Leave me here. Han Qian said calmly. I wasn't really ready to touch you so quickly at first, but I couldn't help it when you said you were the biggest local snake in Binhai. You can't brag like you. You can't do it in black and white. Why are you pretending to be so cool, huh? Prepare to pay back the money, shares, or cash. I'll give you 1 day, and if you don't pay, we'll meet in court. Lin Zongheng sneered. Okay. Let's see you in court, Han Qian. If you can get this money, I will write the word Lin in reverse. Han Qian asked with a frown. If you write it the other way around, you won't have the surname Lin. Lin Zongheng ignored Han Qian and turned around to leave. Gulu stepped forward to stop him, but Han Qian held his shoulders and said calmly. What are you doing? We are a legal company, you can't use force. Now you are going to give 200,000 cash to Tang Wei. As for how to give it? Do I need to tell you for what purpose? Gulu nodded and trotted out of the office. Han Qian sat at Gulu's seat and took out his cell phone to call Luo Shen and said softly. You might want to come to Binhai. Luo Shen hummed, and then Han Qian called Lu Shenga. Now that the Liaoluo family has joined forces, you owe me a favor, right? Put. When you come back to Binhai, do you really think of the capital as your home? I'll be back tomorrow. You took action a little too fast. I didn't expect it. It was an accident. I was impulsive and couldn't hold it back, but it's not too early. Just change the plan temporarily. If you let me go, I'll break your remaining 2 legs. Lu Shenga hung up the phone and didn't take Han Qian's threat to heart at all. After making 2 phone calls, Han Qian held a cigarette in his mouth and raised his head and stared at the ceiling in a daze. After about half a minute, the ash from the cigarette fell on his neck, which made the guy scream. At this time, Lin Zongheng's phone number had already been called to his father. This guy had no other skills, so he called Lin Mend quickly. After getting the news, he immediately reported to his father what happened to Han Qian and Lu Shenga. I won't discuss it with my father, but Lin Zongheng can't do it. It seems like he can't live without his father. After listening to his son's story, Lin Mend lowered his voice and said in a low voice, Han Qian? Since it is Han Qian, there is no need to worry. Let him go to the court to make trouble. We will admit the money he owes, but once he gets to the court, we will mediate. The various procedures can be delayed for a year and a half. This time is enough. Now no matter how provocative Han Qian is, just ignore him and be obedient. I know Dad, but I feel so sick now, Han Qian. What's disgusting? Isn't it good that he spent money to solve our troubles? Just pretend that nothing happened. I know Dad. Lin Zongheng did not return to the company, but called a woman and asked her to clean up and wait for him to come over. After receiving his father's answer, Lin Zongheng's heart dropped. What's the use of Han Qian being so powerful? Isn't ginger still spicier? It's a pity that Han Qian was not prepared to give them time at all. Lin Zongheng was sweating, while Han Qian was sitting in Chang Grong's fishing garden watching Wei Tiancheng fishing. Miao Miao was by Wei Tianquan's side, and Luo Shen, who had made a phone call to come to Binhai, squatted next to Han Qian and took out the fish one by one. The caught fish were thrown back into the lake. Han Qian chose to ignore Luo Shen's actions. Wei Tiancheng lost interest in fishing, but Luo Shen had something to say. She said that fishing should not be done in spring, just like she never eats fish roe, Han Qian said with a smile. You're quite kind. Then Luo Shen whispered. I eat raw eggs. Han Qian almost threw the woman into the lake. When the four of them left the fishing garden, Wei Tiancheng spoke. Young Master Han, do you want me to show your face? Han Qian opened the passenger door and curled his lips. You have to go in when you show up. Find a younger brother to take the blame. We can do whatever it takes to minimize our losses without affecting how to deal with them. I'm leaving first. After getting in the car, Han Qian glanced at Luo Shen who was driving and said softly. You don't have to come here in such a hurry. Luo Shen replied with a gloomy face. He wants to kill me. He wants to kill me. Can I not be anxious? As long as Lin Zongheng can be punished, I am willing to do anything. I want to see him lose the same dejected look. Your car hasn't been repaired yet? I'll go home and you drive my car. The woman Luoshan seemed to be used to being tough, or she might have completely regarded Han Qian as her boyfriend. She drove back to the house in Binhai. The foreign girl stood by the car and wiped his neck at Han Qian. Han Qian curled his lips and became angry. Road. You had to be down there when I humming raped you. After saying that, he got up and ran away in the car. The foreign girl was so angry that she picked up a stone and hit him. The car disappeared at the intersection. The foreign girl near frowned and asked Luo Shen why she fell in love with this gangster. Luo Shen tilted his head and thought about it, and said softly. I haven't done it yet, so I don't know if I will like it, but I quite like it now. The foreign girl's mind was full of questions, so Luo Shen asked again. Chinese language is broad and profound, you should learn more. Boda. Huh? Get out. Foreign girl near laughed and followed Luo Shen into the community. At this time, Han Qian had already driven to the detention center. He wanted to see Ding Peng. Han Qian was very busy, so busy that he wished he could create a clone. He stood at the door of the detention center and roared angrily. Ka, ka, ka. I forgot what the protagonist's line in Naruto was. I sighed, lowered my head and walked into the detention center. Ding Peng was in a very depressed state, and he didn't show much anger when he saw Han Qian. Han Qian got straight to the point. Do something for me. Ding Peng shook his head. Han Qian shrugged and said calmly. You'll be locked up in there for the rest of your life. He stood up and left as soon as he finished speaking, without any hesitation. Tell the prison guard on your way out. Take good care of it. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 872. Lin Zongheng was given 1 day. On the 3rd day of the 2nd lunar month, Lin Zongheng did not make any move. Han Qian smiled helplessly. He had been delaying the Lin family for a long time, and it was a bit unreasonable whether he took action or not. Sitting on the sofa, he took out his mobile phone and kept dialing. It took more than half an hour to make more than a dozen calls. Nuan lay on the corner of the stairs and looked at Han Qian in confusion. What are you busy with so early in the morning? Han Qian stood up and walked up the stairs, holding his warm cheek and kissing it. Be good, eat your own breakfast. I have something to do and leave first. After saying that, Han Qian picked up his clothes and left. When he was waiting for the elevator, the warmth came out and gave Han Qian a boiled egg that had been peeled. Han Qian stuffed the egg into his mouth and hurried into the elevator. This guy Su Hongchang. Han Qian was surprised when the car arrived at the unit door. Without thinking too much, Su Hongchang opened the door and Han Qian got in the car. In the car, Han Qian took out his mobile phone again and dialed Cai Qinghu's number. Today the courts and the city bureau will receive a lot of reports and prosecutions. You should keep an eye on them and don't let others dismiss or destroy these cases. Okay, sir. Han Qian hung up the phone and contacted Yates. In my words. At this time, Yates was sitting on the bed, with a notebook on his lap, a notebook on the keyboard, a pen in his right hand, looking left and right at the tablet, and replied softly. The person who hit me with his car has become mentally ill. I found several unusual transfer records from their bank card records. It was not theirs, but the bank cards of their wives or parents. I am now in. I will trace the person who transferred the money and I will give you an answer within 2 hours. I have also prepared the contract for the share debt and the indictment. If Wei Tiancheng is sold, it will be of great help to us. If you can't sell it, I'll ask someone to pick it up later, and then you go to the hospital to check your leg. New. After the 2 phone calls ended, Han Qian let out a long sigh. Not long after, Han Qian appeared in the city bureau's office. Li Jinhai looked at Han Qian with his chin in one hand. In front of him were more than 20 high-level crime report documents. Xiao Qian, are you here to increase my workload? Han Qian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Li Jinhai sat up straight and sorted the documents on the table and introduced them one by one. Luotian reported the case, and Lin Mend hired Go Daipeo and 2 assassins to assassinate her on the night of the Ashai Pavilion party. Han Qian nodded, and Li Jinhai said again. Tu Xiao reported to the police that his wife's death was related to Lin Mend. Yeji reported to the police that the car accident she suffered was not an accident, but someone from the Lin family was instigating it. The evidence in her hand will be sent over soon. Qian Wan reported that someone pretended to be from the capital and violently assaulted her and Sul Yang. In the Lida poster case, Lin Mend and Lin Zongheng and his son embezzled the company's public funds. Lu Shengge reported the crime. He has obtained the recording evidence. His car accident was instigated by the Lin family. The Qian family's housekeeper named Zhong reported to the police that Qian Huan's death was related to the Lin family. Li Jinhai picked up a document after saying a name. When he finished speaking, the order of the documents on the table was also changed. He raised his head and looked at Han Qian and said again. Are you reporting the crime? Report it. After Wen Wen and I just divorced, Lin Zongheng spent 400,000 yuan to buy my legs in July. The person he hired was Guan Yunbiao. Guan Yunbiao told me about this matter. Now he still has 400,000 yuan in his hand, bank card, the record is still there. Han Qian grinned happily, and Li Jinhai took a deep breath before speaking again. Go on, speak freely. Han Qian stepped forward, picked up Li Jinhai's water glass, took a sip, and said. Buying my leg is just 1 second. The Lin family and his son owe me 300 million and won't pay back the money, and they have a tough attitude. Third. Feng Lun told me that all his startup funds were given by Lin Mend, and Ding Peng, Zhang Shengli, and the 2 men who killed me on motorcycles all came from Lin Mend and Niu Qiudong. Fourth. Lin Zongheng once came to me and Lu Shengge to discuss how to kill Luo Shen. At that time, he didn't know whether it was true or not and didn't dare to call the police. Lu Shengge defended himself wisely, which also led to the tragedy that Luo Shen and I were almost killed by Go Deipao. Fifth. Wei Tiancheng found some evidence in the relics of his younger brother Ho Kong. Go Deipao was saved by the Lin family, is this enough? Li Jinhai smiled helplessly. You. My nephew and son-in-law, you have come up with so many things in one breath and you still have to let me digest them. We will open a case for investigation, so don't worry. Our city bureau will not accept this case regarding debts. You can just go to court and sue them directly, and tell me the truth, did Lin Zongheng ever want to harm my precious niece? Zhang Shengli might have gone there just for the warmth, but he was discovered by my old man. Can we get the evidence? No, Zhang Shengli seems to have been caught by Feng Lun. Feng Lun told me that Lin Mend is for money and for the profits of the entire Binhai. Niu Qiudong wants all Binhai Yamen to be like him, treating the common people as if they are his own children, and treating businessmen as his own. Strike hard, the gun was bought by Lin Mend and given by Feng's Haida, this is all I know, you can ask Toad, he also knows some inside information. Li Jinhai stood up, walked to Han Qian, put his arms around the neck of the unruly man, and said with a sinister smile. Qianer, Zhang Gang, and his second uncle don't know anything about it. That's because I didn't let him say it. When the words came out, his neck was tightened, and Li Jinhai said angrily. You little bastard, you are quite good at playing. You plotted the entire Binhai to move to the Lin family. Tell me why Lin Mend owes you 300 million. Second uncle, it hurts, it hurts. Lin Mend bought Nuanuan's shares. Then I kicked Wei Tiancheng away. Lin Mend originally wanted to make money back in the scenic spot of Longhuiwai. At that time, I contacted Zhao Hanqing and asked my uncle to help Zhao Hanqing's father and sit in the teacher's position one step ahead. The Zhao family will help me research Niu Qiudong and Lin Mend, and then find someone to go to the Lin family to do it. Oops, you can't understand even if I tell you so much. Li Jinhai let go of Han Qian, hugged his shoulders and whispered. Xiao Qian, does Nuan know about this? Han Qian shook his head. She is like tofu. I didn't dare to tell her. I don't want Nuan to know these dark things. She just needs to eat, drink and have fun happily and be the most beautiful little phoenix in the seaside. I will do the rest. Just clean up her behind. When can you file a case and start the investigation? I'm afraid someone will run away. Li Jinhai frowned. What are you afraid of if you run away? Such a big company is here. Now you go to Cai Qinghu and ask her to help you file. Lin Mend is involved in many things. Tell me when you arrest someone, and I'll watch the excitement. Han Qian left with a smile. On the way out, he met Sul Yang. He brought over the evidence prepared by Yates. After the two said hello, Han Qian went out to find Cai Qinghu. The two squatted at the door of the court and ate bread. Not long after, the foursome and Tu Xiao came. Han Qian said. Vice President Wei, Brother Lu, you two go to the court. Luo Shanda, take Sigwan to see Li Dehai and ask him to provide evidence and be a witness. Boss 2, go to Wei Tiancheng now. You go to the municipal bureau to talk to Li Jinhai about the past. There is no reason in our country not to pursue expired cases. Let your people start collecting evidence. Damn it, you owe me money and you won't pay it back. Gulu, you go enjoy it first and tell Lin Ment, do you want to give me 40% of the shares or not? Here, if I don't give you anything, don't say anything, just find a lawyer and prepare to file a lawsuit. The foursome said in unison to Han Qian. Yes, boss. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 873. Tang Wei looked at the 200,000 yuan and an IOU in front of him, and his face was already smiling. Since the Chinese New Year, he has been borrowing money from Gulu, ranging from a few thousand to tens of thousands to more than 10,000. He used this money to squander, buy cars, watches, and hook up with women. Coupled with the benefits provided by the Lin family, Tang Wei's life has made a qualitative leap. He can change women as quickly as he changes clothes, but all he can think about is Yang Lan. This woman has become more and more tempting after not seeing him for several years. Now that they are dead, Tang Wei has no feelings for Yang Lan and Xiao Baibei. He only has lust for Yang Lan. Looking at the 200,000 yuan on the table, Tang Wei smiled and took out his mobile phone and dialed Yang Ian's number. Yang Lan was unprepared for the unfamiliar number. After answering the phone, Tang Wei spoke directly. Stay with me for one night and I'll give you 200,000. Ill. Yang Lan simply hung up the phone, muttering under his breath which mental illness it was, and then blocked the number. Tang Wei might know that, but Yang Lan didn't even know who was calling. Tang Wei looked at the hung-up phone and ignored it. He curled his lips, and then started looking for young models. 200,000 was enough for him to spend a few days. He didn't worry about running out of money. If he ran out of money, he would go to Gilu to borrow it, or ask Lin Zongheng for it, but he helped. The Lin family is very busy. Choosing a college student with 3,000 one night, Tang Wei got up and went to take a shower to get ready to go out. He took off his clothes and walked into the bathroom, whistling and preparing to enjoy an exciting night. Tang Wei was debating whether to find one. It would be best to look like sisters like Yang Lan and Yang Jia are the most exciting. Now that he had thought about it, he had to do it. When Tang Wei walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a bath towel, he was stunned. Lin Zongheng didn't know how he got in. There were two white bodyguards behind him. Tang Wei was just slightly stunned, and then smiled. Why didn't Lin Shaolei say anything? I'll pick you up downstairs. Lin Zongheng sneered. Don't you dare bother Mr. Tang? Did Gila come today? Not bad. 200,000 in cash and 700,000 in loan have been settled. Tang Wei, you are living a very prosperous life. Tang Wei smiled. All the protection of Master Thorin. Don't. I, Lin Zongheng, can't protect you. As he spoke, Lin Zongheng stood up, glanced at Tang Wei and then at the money on the table. He took a deep breath and said coldly. Tang Wei. I thought that your betrayal of Lushenga was your last. I naively thought that if I was good to you, you would be loyal to me. But I was too naive. I never expected that, Tang Wei, you will dig holes for me with Han Qian. You are quite good at playing. Tang Wei looked at Lin Zongheng in astonishment, then smiled. Master Lin, please stop joking. The grudge between Han Qian and I is very deep. He has beaten me to the hospital more than once. How could I cheat you with him? Haha, do you think I'm stupid? After saying that, Lin Zongheng turned around and left. When Tang Wei wanted to catch up and explain, two white men blocked him. Tang Wei's expression changed instantly and he shouted loudly to Lin Zongheng. Master Lin, I really have not plotted against you. Master Lin, you have to believe me. Unfortunately, what greeted Tang Wei was a dark pistol and a bullet. Tang Wei's involvement in this vortex has already doomed his outcome. If he had followed Lu Shenge honestly, he might have survived, but he chose to betray. Lin Zongheng did not kill him today. After Lin Zongheng's collapse, neither Lu Shenge nor Han Qian would let Tang Wei go. He should not have been involved in this fight after he was released from prison. He was too weak and it would be too easy for anyone in this vortex to crush him to death. Is it pitiful? Poor, he's still young. Regretful? No regrets, everything was chosen and done by myself. His death was like the death of a wild dog. No one knew and no one cared about his life or death. People in this world cannot be invisible, but if a person is ignored by everyone, then his existence will not be noticed. Tang Wei is like this. Maybe someone can remember. His death did not affect anyone, and it was expected by someone. At this time, someone was sitting in Glory's office that was not opened several times a year, sitting on a soft boss chair, with his feet put it on the table. Han Qian squinted in the sun and said calmly, "I guess Lin Zongheng is going to touch Tang Wei, which can be regarded as solving a problem for the two of us. Tang Wei doesn't bite, he is disgusting." Lu Shenge stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and looked into the distance, and said calmly, "He bit Yang Lan. Tang Wei is a very flexible person, but his emotional intelligence is too low and he is a bit headstrong. I kept him by my side just to disgust you and distract you. Unfortunately, he jumped into the fire pit on his own." Han Qian closed his eyes and curled his lips. Fire pit? Who is the fire pit? Lin Zongheng? Stop praising yourself. Tang Wei may die worse if he stays with you. At least there is no monster like Yan Ran around Lin Zongheng. After the Lin family is solved, the two of us will draw a line. It's better to wait until I solve all the troubles, don't worry. I will save your life. Lu Shenge turned to look at Han Qian sideways and frowned. You are sick. You're in great shape. I'm a humming patient and you're sitting comfortably? Get out of here. Han Qian stood up and scratched his head in embarrassment, then left Lu Shenge's office, returned to the general department and went into Yang Ian's office. The wooden sofa was not very comfortable to lie on, but Han Qian didn't care. It was already spring, but today Yang Lan had no intention of warming up at all, so Yang Lan threw the pillow to Han Qian and said softly, "Didn't you have a good rest last night? Hey. Although beauty is good, it must be done in moderation." Hey? Sister Yang, what are you talking about? I'm just lying here with you for a while. I haven't had a good rest for a day since I came back from the capital. I'm still pretty. Now hey. Seeing Han Qian's aggrieved look, Yang Lan couldn't help but laugh. I see that you are not idle all the time. Tell me, sister, what are you busy with? I see that Xiao Yang hasn't come to the company recently. What are you two plotting? Han Qian sighed. I really can't tell you. Anyway, I'm plotting something serious. Sister Yang, I'll take a nap and you can call me when you get off work. Go, go, go home and sleep. Yang Lan pushed Han Qian out of the office. Firstly, he wanted Han Qian to have a good rest, and secondly, he was afraid of bad influence. After all, Han Qian's reputation had reached an extreme point. Han Qian returned to the old man's side, got into the west room and hid. The old man and Qian's mother were confused as to what was going on. Qian's mother called her daughter-in-law and asked softly, "Xiao Nuan, did you and Han Qian quarrel?" When Nuan replied confused, "No. He's been very busy recently." "What's wrong, Mom? What did he say to you?" Qian's mother breathed a sigh of relief and said softly, "No, he is sleeping in the west room now. I thought you two had a quarrel. Xiao Nuan, please come home for dinner at night." "Well, okay, Mom, don't worry about Han Qian. Except for me, Those idiots are not willing to quarrel with their brother Chien. Mom, I'm going to go home from get off work. Not long after hanging up the phone, Nuan drove back, smiled at Chien's mother, then opened the door and got into the west room, lying next to Han Chien and pinching his nose. Han Chien opened his eyes and glared at Wen Nuan, but the girl continued to be naughty. Han Chien stretched out his hand to warm her, held the girl in his arms and continued to sleep. At 1 o'clock in the morning, Han Chien was woken up by the ringing of his mobile phone. He covered Nuan with a quilt first, and then answered the phone. "Ms. Sir. Tang Wei is dead." Han Chien was stunned for a moment without much surprise. After being silent for a long time, he spoke. "I'll go find you now. Are you there?" "Well, the ancient building is here too." Han Chien tiptoed out of bed and went out. When he reached the yard, the old man came out wearing a cotton-padded jacket and asked in a low voice. "Emergency? It's so late." "I'll go with you." Han Chien shook his head. "You passed. What should I do with Nuan and my mother?" "You can stay at home and I'll ask Su Hongchang to pick me up." Since having Su Hongchang, Han Chien has known what convenience is. After getting in the car, Su Hongchang handed the cigarette to Han Chien. Han Chien took a puff of the cigarette and said in a deep voice. "Tang Wei is dead. As I expected, you send me to the scene. Then don't go upstairs. Go and check the driving recorders or surveillance cameras nearby to see if you can find any clues. Once you find it, don't make any announcement." "Okay, master." Han Chien was sent to the scene, but he was stopped outside. Not long after, Cai King Hu ran down and took Han Chien upstairs. Li Jinhai was also at the scene. Han Chien asked around, and then his eyes fell on a strange man. After a long silence, he gave him a thumbs up. It was discovered that Tang Wei's death was a complete accident. This man had an affair with someone else's wife. When his husband came back in the middle of the night, he escaped outside the third-floor window. Then under the shadow of the moonlight, he saw the cash on the table. After taking a closer look, found Tang Wei lying naked on the ground. He went downstairs, put on his clothes and called the police. Of course, only Li Jinhai and others knew about this, and they had not told the sweet and loving couple yet. Everyone went downstairs. Han Chien said softly. "Gulu should be innocent." Li Jinhai nodded. Judging from Tang Wei's cell phone call time and Gulu's appearance under surveillance, he did not have the time to commit the crime, but the money and documents on the table are related to Gulu. "I want to take him back to the bureau first. Han Chien, I ask you, did you expect that Tang Wei would die?" I don't know what to say. Just investigate normally. It has nothing to do with me." At dawn, the ancient building was released. Li Jinhai sat on the steps in front of the city bureau and said calmly to Cai King Hu. "You also heard that Tang Wei helped Gulu negotiate a business, and Gulu went to send rewards and settle debts. There is no vendetta, and Tang Wei will not commit suicide under pressure." Gulu said that Tang Wei is the person who worked for Lin Zongheng, introduced Lin Zongheng to borrow money from Gulu, but at that time the Lin family didn't know that the boss behind Gulu was Han Chien. Today Han Chien came to report the case and said that Lin Zongheng refused to pay back the money. What do you think? Cai King Hu sighed and whispered. "Don't worry, I'm sure. But we have no evidence. Even if there are Lin Zongheng's fingerprints and hair at the scene, there is no way to identify him as the murderer, because there has always been cooperation and contact between them, and you have also seen it. Tang Wei's house is in chaos. The only thing that can be confirmed is not robbery or murder. Take your time. Don't be anxious and deal with other cases about the Lin family first. You arrest people and I'll check." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 874. When it was time to go to work, Han Qian was already sitting in Yang Ian's office. Today, Yang Lan was unexpectedly wearing a duplicate set of clothes. Han Qian was surprised, and Yang Lan was also surprised. She said softly, "Why are you so early today? Eat breakfast. Tang Wei was killed last night. I'll buy you breakfast." Yang Lan turned around and left. Han Qian didn't say anything. He sat in the office and waited quietly. Not long after, Yang Lan came back with 2 buns in his hand. He handed them to Han Qian and ate one himself. Han Qian had no appetite and said softly, "It happened very unexpectedly. The news I received last night, I thought. Stop talking, I have nothing to do with this person. His death has cleared up the dark clouds in my sky. I suddenly thought of the harassing phone call yesterday. Maybe it was him who called me, saying that he would give me 200,000 yuan to spend one night with him. Haha. Anyway, he has no parents, no brothers and sisters, so if he dies, he will die, so that's fine. If Bai Bei asks me in the future, I can take Bai Bei to burn paper for him." After listening to Yang Ian's words, Han Qian smiled. "I was also worried that you would feel uncomfortable." Yang Lan sat on the wooden sofa, put her hands on the knees of her jeans and sighed softly. "Hey, I feel a strange feeling in my heart when such a big living person is gone. But it's not sad at all. I will spend my whole life trying to make up for the damage he caused me, but I still can't undo it. He let me, I'm worried every day, and to say a selfish thing, his death makes me feel a lot better, Han Qian." "Thank you." Han Qian stood up and said quickly. "Sister Yang, please stop making trouble. It's not me who killed you. Don't thank me. You should thank the suspect. If nothing happens, I'll take the first step." Yang Lan nodded. As soon as Han Qian walked out of the general department, he bumped into Yan Qingqing. Yan Qingqing gritted her teeth and glared at Han Qian, saying angrily, "Did you lose your eye?" Han Qian dragged Yan Qingqing's waist and whispered, "I'm a little sleepy. I didn't get a good rest last night." Yan Qingqing glanced at Han Qian's pale face and sighed feebly. "I know. Nuan called me this morning and asked me to keep an eye on you. What else do you have to do? Get some sleep first." Han Qian grabbed Yan Qingqing's wrist, glanced at the time and whispered, "It seems like I can't rest anymore. I'm really busy here. Yang Jia, please hold on to Mr. Yan. I'm leaving first." He was indeed leaving, because Li Jinhai was going to take people to Changxiang to chat with Lin Zongheng, and Han Qian wanted to find a way to get the Lin family and his son to the city bureau. As long as he entered the bureau, all problems would be easy to solve. Han Qian contacted Gulu and called Yates and Su Hongchang, asking them to wait at the door of Changxiang. They must enter Changxiang before Li Jinhai to see Lin Zongheng. Su Hongchang drove to pick up Yates. In less than 20 minutes, several people appeared at the door of Changxiang. Han Qian glanced at Yates's legs and said softly, "Can it be done?" Yates nodded. When Han Qian turned around and looked at Changxiang's main entrance again, Li Dehai was already waiting at the door. Han Qian stepped forward and asked a few words in a low voice, and Li Dehai took them into the elevator. Han Qian walked in front, followed by Su Hongchang and Yeji, and behind them were Gulu and Li Dehai. This was not the first time he came to see Lin Zongheng. He opened the door and walked into the office. Lin Zongheng acted very calmly when he saw Han Qian. When he saw Li Dehai, Lin Zongheng smiled and clapped his hands and applauded Han Qian. Mad Dog Han, every step you take is beyond my expectation. I never expected that Li Dehai would be yours, Li Dehai. Don't you have any resentment towards Han Qian at all?" Li Dehai glanced at Lin Zongheng coldly and said calmly. The resentment between us does not affect our becoming allies, Mr. Lin. There are no permanent enemies in the adult world, and interests are the most important thing. Lin Zongheng sneered. Including Han Qian's plan to let you and your son sleep with the same woman? Li Dehai, I really feel sad for you. After finishing his words, Gu Lu smiled. Mr. Lin, I think you should be sad. You have a record of breach of contract. We will have the right to terminate the cooperation early and invite you to repay the debt of 306 million. As for my boss and director Li, you'd better not worry about it. Lin Zongheng sneered. Money? Pay back the money? I'm sorry, I don't have any money. If you want to go, if you don't, you will die. Don't you want to sue me? I beg you to go quickly. This guy looked like a dead pig and was not afraid of boiling water, which made Han Qian laugh angrily. Han Qian frowned and looked at Lin Zongheng and laughed. Do you think it will take a long time to complete the chaos of prosecution, review, mediation, etc. In the end, if an installment payment is made, we will refuse to repay, adjust, and give you a chance to breathe, right? Lin Zongheng shrugged and Han Qian laughed. Ha 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 ha, Lin Zongheng, are you stupid? Since I laid this trap for you, I will definitely find a way to tighten the rope. You are not naive enough to think that I will really follow the process, right? Lin Zongheng said lightly. Come. Let me see how our Bin Hai little bully, the money-spreading boy, and Han Mad Dog tighten the rope. Ah! Han Qian didn't pay attention to Lin Zongheng's arrogance and confidence at all, and motioned Yates to find a place to sit down first. Han Qian picked up the fruit on the coffee table and threw it to Su Hongchang. Then he sat next to Yates and put his arms around Miss Ye's shoulders. He said calmly. With 40% of the shares, I can still give you a way out. Then you can be an honest dude, play around with starlets, and sleep with young models. It's a great life. Why do you have to seek death? Where is the road? Lin bastard, you and I have fought many times, which time did you win? Lin Zongheng curled his lips and said contemptuously. Which time? Guan Yunbiao's imprisonment? Your quartet almost fell apart? Yates's leg? Your father's injury? Han Qian. Don't you think that it didn't happen if the pain didn't fall on you? Han Qian curled his lips and sneered. Then what? You danced very happily when I was not in Bin Hai. When I came back, all your plans were ruined. Guan Yunbiao was released from prison, and the foursome became closer. Not only that, Li Dehai and I also became you lost your allies, and 2 of your bodyguards died, right? With 2 trump cards, one was caught by the Yamanman, and the other was caught by Feng Lun. Do you think you won? Zongheng. Let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart, I have never regarded you as a serious opponent. My plan for you is just a random one. My enemies include the dead Go Depeo and Niu Qiudong, and the living Feng Lun and Lu Shenga. But you are just for fun. It's just a toy, haven't you noticed that I always look at you with squint and contempt? When it comes to talking skills, Han Qian has never been afraid of anyone, professional or unprofessional. Even as a negotiator, he is not at a loss for words. If he is talking about hurting his heart, every word of Han Qian is like a knife. Same. Lin Zongheng's face looked ugly, and Han Qian chuckled again. 4 young people in Bin Hai, Feng Lun is talked about by others, the young master in Beijing is respected by others, Qian Huan's death is regretted by others, I, Han Qian, are envied, jealous and doted on by others, and where is you Lin Zongheng? When I mention you, the only thing that comes to mind is Lin Men's son. Only the sentence, you are a dude living under the protection of your father's halo. Do you really think you can be among the 4 young masters of Bin Hai? Don't put it on your face, it's so gold-plated. After saying this, Han Qian took out a cigarette. Li Dehai stepped forward and lit it. Han Qian took a puff of the cigarette and looked at Lin Zongheng with narrowed eyes. Feng Lun succeeded in making everyone remember him from an unknown person. Some officials in Binhai also became his cash machines. Qian Huan was called Binhai's little golden dragon. He and Lu Shenga founded the Glory Group. Lu, what about Shenga? He runs the Lu family and Glory, and after Qian Huan's death, Glory can grow even more. But I, Han Qian, did what none of them did. I fired 2 shots at Feng Lun. After piercing his right leg, I took Qian Huan's place. I made Yan Qingqing, Lu Shenga's student, a shareholder of Glory. And you? Young Master Binhai Lin, a top student who graduated from a foreign high-end university, besides giving Feng Lun you made a chair once, what else have you done? Han Qian. What are you calling Dad for? Dad can hear you. Lin Zongheng's face was as pale as pig liver. What he couldn't accept the most was others saying that he was inferior to others and that he had accomplished nothing. But now Han Qian was clinging to these things, making it difficult for him to control himself. Lin Zongheng stared at Han Qian, while Han Qian hugged Yates and looked at his phone, as if Lin Zongheng didn't exist. Such disregard made Lin Zongheng even more angry. Just when he was about to roar again, the door of the office was pushed open, and the police at the Yamanmen came. Looking at the people in the room, the Yamanmen were a little surprised. Li Jinhai's secretary, Xiao Songqing, coughed. Hello Mr. Lin, we have received reports recently. You and your father are related to many cases. We need to find out about the situation from you. Lin Zongheng frowned, and then Han Qian spoke. What the hell do you know? Just arrest the person. The father and son have done so many things like giving birth to a son without an asshole, so just arrest them. Lin Zongheng said angrily. Han Qian, shut the hum up. Han Qian became angry when he said this, stood up and said angrily. Who the hell are you insulting? Why did I scold you? You came over so humming early in the morning to disgust me. You owe me money and you don't pay me back, so I can't come here to collect the debt? Comrade police, he owes me money and he doesn't pay me back, and he insults me. Don't you care? If you don't care about my words, I will take action. Don't talk to me then. What law? As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian rolled up his sleeves and was about to take action. Xiao Song said in a deep voice with some embarrassment. Master Han, please don't cause trouble for us. Han Qian turned around and said doubtfully. Making trouble? I want money to cause trouble? If I don't make trouble, you ask for money for me? Come on, Lin Zongheng, come here the hell. Lin Zongheng, who was so angry that he lost his mind, picked up the ashtray on the table, pointed at Han Qian and gritted his teeth. Come here? Am I humming afraid of you? Seeing that a fight was about to start, Xiao Song suddenly took out handcuffs and cuffed Han Qian's wrists. Han Qian was slightly stunned, then Xiao Song growled. For provoking trouble and interfering with normal law enforcement, both Lin Xiao and Han Qian were handcuffed and taken back to the station. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 876. Han Qian's purpose is to let the city bureau bring Lin Zongheng back, but is this guy a big fish? The answer is naturally no. His danger factor to Han Qian is not high, and his goal is to destroy this guy. What Han Qian wants is Chang's Yang Group. The two of them were sent to 2 rooms at the same time. Within a minute, Han Qian came out, went upstairs with his mobile phone, and made a call to Qin Yezu in the province, telling him that he had some clues about Feng Lun's affairs and wanted to come to Binhai to have a look. Without talking to Qin Yezu in detail, after hanging up the phone, Han Qian stood up, stretched and left the city bureau. Not long after, Han Qian and Cai Qinghu appeared in the Lin family villa. Han Qian looked at Erlang holding a Lin family cigar in his legs, and looked at Lin Men sitting opposite. Han Qian chuckled. Director Lin should know this, right? Isn't it surprising? You clearly feel that victory is in sight, but you lose everything. Lin Men looked at Han Qian with his hands on crutches and frowned. Han Qian, have you thought about the consequences of doing this? Ha 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 ha. Han Qian couldn't help laughing, threw the cigar casually on the coffee table, and laughed. Consequences? Are you still talking to me about the consequences now? Since I dare to do it, it means that I don't care about the consequences in your mouth. Do you think I want money? Do you think I just want to step on your son and become famous? Stop fantasizing. You Lin Zongheng may still be free if he takes the blame. I can withdraw all the charges and debts against him, but I want 60% of the shares in your hands, and the remaining 3% can be regarded as my replacement. My father-in-law gives you alms from the Lin family. Lin Men chuckled. Are you so sure that you can move me? Han Qian shrugged and smiled. There is no strong person in the world. You are responsible for providing funds to Feng Lun, and Niu Qiudong is responsible for opening up channels. Indeed. I don't have enough evidence to prove that you are related to these things, but what your son has done is enough to put him in prison if you stay here for the rest of your life. What's the point of having more money? Lin Men looked at Han Qian, hesitated for a long time, and said softly. Han Qian, I know what you mean when you bring Cai Qinghu here today. This time, your plan is very careful. I still don't know when we walked into your trap. This way. I remember that I am already old. Gao, and because of my relationship with Wen Shi, please give me a day, and at this time tomorrow, we can find a place to sit down and have a good chat. Han Qian chuckled. Because you are getting older, I will give you 24 hours. During this time, you can find people who can help you out. Madam, let's go. After leaving the Lin family villa, Cai Qinghu asked doubtfully why he didn't take Lin Men away directly. Wouldn't it be more trouble for him to give him time? Han Qian smiled softly at Cai Qinghu and said softly. Don't be in a hurry, I can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. Madam, please go back to the Yamanman now and look at Lin Zongheng. Don't let anyone interrogate him, and don't let him plead guilty. What I want is not as simple as Lin Zongheng being jailed. Send him first. Shall I go to my father-in-law's place? Which father-in-law? Oh, Wen Shu. Han Qian didn't answer. He clearly saw a trace of dissatisfaction on Cai Qinghu's face. Life is hard, not just 1 or 2 days. After seeing Wen Shu, Han Qian took his father-in-law into the study and briefly explained the matter and plan. Wen Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at his son-in-law, smiling weakly. This happened too suddenly for you. Now you don't know what to choose. Han Qian nodded and said solemnly. Yes. There are 2 ways now. One is to let Lin Zongheng go to jail, and Lin Men may fight with me to the end. The second is that I will not pursue Lin Zongheng and Lin Men's affairs and let them exchange Chang Xiang's shares for freedom. I will take all the shares of the Lin family and give them to Nuan, but the premise is that I may need some money. Can our family get this money? It's about 300 million. When she threw a cigarette to Han Qian and smiled lightly. You don't have to worry about money, and you don't have to worry about it. You get these shares first. You only need to guarantee one thing. After you get the shares, you won't do anything to the Lin family. As for other people, it has nothing to do with you. What a big deal. After saying this, Han Qian suddenly raised his head and looked at his father-in-law with wide eyes. After a long time, he gave a thumbs up and whispered. Dad, you are quite sinister. Nonsense. Wen Shu is different from other elders. He is the only elder who doesn't like to hit children and dotes on them too much. At 5 o'clock in the evening, When Nuan came back with his exhausted body, he walked into the living room and lay on the sofa, shouting that he didn't want to go to work and wanted to herd cows. Wen Shi and Han Qian stood on the balcony and looked at Wen Wen. They looked at each other with eyes full. She was helpless. If she knew that she was about to manage two companies, she would probably explode on the spot. She and Han Qian were a perfect match. Neither of them took money seriously and had to work hard. Nuan didn't seem to know what was happening in the city. She lay on the sofa and shouted, asking Li Jinhe to pour her water. Then there was a cordial exchange between mother and daughter. In the end, there was no need to guess, Nuan would be beaten. After having dinner at their father-in-law's house, Han Qian and Nuan went home. After getting in the car, Nuan started mumbling. Han Qian, are you a primary school student? Why do I have to pick you up every day? How about I buy you a bicycle? Han Qian closed his eyes to rest and ignored Wen Nuan. Something happened to silence this time. Wen Nuan parked the car on the side of the road, unbuckled his seat belt, turned around and glared at Han Qian, saying angrily, "Why are you ignoring me?" Ah! Han Qian looked confused, then Wen Nuan continued. "I talked to you several times today and you ignored me. Han Qian, do you think I'm annoying? Do you think I particularly like talking to you? You treat me like this. You are very rude. Why?" Sighing, she went to pinch the girl's cheek behind her, but was slapped away by the girl. Wen Nuan stared at Han Qian with her mouth bulging. After a while, she said again, "Did you just want to pinch my face? Now you are ignoring me and you still want to pinch my face. Han Qian, I am not done with you, I want to divorce you." "Ah! It seems that we have divorced, what are you doing? What are you troubling about, Han Qian?" Wen Nuan grabbed Han Qian's arm and began to shake and act coquettishly. Han Qian looked at the cute girl with a bulging mouth and smiled. "There have indeed been a lot of troubles these past 2 days. It's not that I ignored you, but I really didn't hear you." Wen Nuan restarted the car very slowly and spoke softly. "I don't know what you're worried about. I'm not as smart as you. I can't help you. The only thing I can do is not to make you sad or upset. Do you know, Han Qian? There is no love between us." Huh? What the hell are you doing? If I say no, then there won't be any. Xiao Han Qian, are you confused? Han Qian chuckled. "I haven't drifted, and I don't dare to drift. There is no passionate love between the two of us, and there is no vow of eternal alliance. You married me and cried and laughed with me. I married you and took care of your daily life. It has become an indispensable part of my life, and it is right that love is greater than family affection. So you went to hook up with a little girl to find love." As soon as these words came out, Han Qian fell silent again. Wen Nuan did not question Han Qian like before. He took out a lollipop and stuffed it into his mouth. He hummed a little tune and shook his head while driving. Han Qian accidentally fell asleep.